clear ways to measure your progress. What I've found since I retired is that creating my next 10-year plan is much harder. Like you said,
Mm-hmm.
it's sometimes difficult to hone in on that very clear image in the future that you want to work towards. And
Mm-hmm.
then, but you need that to be able to build back and build those intermediate goals.
Sure.
But that idea of taking something challenging and breaking it down into small things, it certainly helped me in skiing, but it also
Mm-hmm.
really helped me when I took a season off to have a baby and then think about coming back, because
Mm-hmm.
there was no textbook to say how to do it. There was no
Mm-hmm.
clear example to say it was going to be possible. So I
Mm-hmm.
just kind of took like where I wanted to get back to and kind of just broke it down. And having that structure ended up being so important for
Mm-hmm.
giving me the space to be patient as I built my body back up after I had my son.
Mm-hmm. Super interesting. And I think, you as an athlete, and back when you had your son, did you have a lot of information how to, within your sports and around you, did you have a lot of mums in the same situation and how to do things? Can I ski while pregnant and all those things?
The answer is no. There really wasn't a lot of information or role models when I was going through it myself. And after the 2014 Olympics, I knew I wanted to continue racing, but I also knew I really wanted to start a family. And so
Mm-hmm.
then it was a question of, was I going to be able to balance continuing to be an elite athlete, but becoming a mom, especially as the mom, where you have to go through the whole pregnancy and the buildup. So I started looking at, like, knowing in 2014 that I wanted to do this. I started looking around, and there was no book you could find. There were stories on the internet scattered around from athletes from other sports. Like, I looked at a couple of runners who had been successful, and I could see a little bit about their story. But again,
Mm-hmm.
there was still no, here's the formula, here's clearly what you can do, here's clearly what you can't. I found there was a lot of information that wasn't necessarily based on science. It was more based on ideas, and it was kind of old school in that for a long time, people have told women that, oh, you cannot be super active when you're pregnant. You have to be so careful and don't get your heart rate up, and, don't get too warm. And so I
Yeah.
think women have really been, hesitant. And I can understand that now, because, the health of your baby is the most important thing. So you're
Mm-hmm.
willing to, be smart. But I also kind of thought about it from the perspective of, well, a long time ago, women were hunter gatherers. They were working in the fields. They couldn't necessarily just take 9 months and stop
That's
doing
true.
everything. They kept going. And so I think evolutionary, our biology is set to, continue doing what we're doing. And so when I came to my pregnancy, I just kind of tried to keep an open mind. I tried to think of it as, okay, health of the baby and myself is number one, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to listen to my body, and I'm going to do some training. And if it feels good, then, I'll continue on. And if there's an indication that it's not, then I'm able to slow down and step back, because I know I don't have to be in perfect shape. So I think listening to my body was surprised me in how good I felt. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I continued training twice a day, 3-4 hours a day, up through 7.5, 8 months. I was able to ski my whole pregnancy. I felt incredibly strong in the weight room. And I even did some interval training. I didn't push it to the absolute like red line that I would if I was racing. But
Mm-hmm.
I found that my body actually responded to that kind of higher effort, because that's what it was used to. And
Mm-hmm.
so even with the lack of information, I think just kind of being smart about it and being a little bit open-minded really helped me have a really pleasant experience. And being able to stay so active through my pregnancy, I think really gave me this solid foundation that when
Mm-hmm.
I did have my son and I would build my way back, I wasn't starting from such a
From
low
zero.
place.
Mm.
I was able to, I would say within 6 weeks, I actually was able to get back into some activities, and I felt incredibly strong because of all that extra oxygen carrying capacity. Um, so I think now, like in my sport, cross country, the year that I had my son, there were 5 other women who were top World Cup elite racers that also had babies. It was not a coincidence that that was the year in between world championships when everybody felt like, well, if I have to pick a year, I think I can step back. So it was total baby boom for cross country. And now that all 6 of us have had our children, most of us came back to a very, very high level, and we've all been kind of open about sharing our experience. I feel like there is starting to be more information, more
Hmm.
good role models out there, so that the next group of women that come through who are wondering about what's possible and how to do it, there's more to look towards.